Unfortunately, most Americans will never be able to retire, even if you have a plan and you're meeting the milestones of that plan. Now, my channel is not about promoting fear, but it is about sharing the truth with you so that you can prepare for what could be all of our reality. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about two words that are super important to all Americans, and that is Social Security. This first chart here shows what the average Social Security check is in the United States. It's become an integral part of 95% plus of us here in America. It's an integral part of us being able to have a comfortable retirement. We've paid into this system for years. So let's see what the average person gets out. And then I'll share with you what I see as the challenge. Okay, at the age of if you start Social Security at 62, you're going to get less money. You're going to get 70% of your full retirement age benefit. And the average Social Security check there is $1,300 a month. The average person at 63 gets a little more, a little over $1,300 a month. 64, again, a little bit more, a little more than $1,450. At 65, now we're a little over $1,550 in monthly income from Social Security. 66, you can see it's almost $1,750. 67, it's $1,884. At 68, the average Social Security check is $1,948. 69, it's $1,945. And at 70, it's a little over $2,000. So as I said, this is a big foundation for Americans. This is one of the three legs, if we're lucky, three legs of a retirement foundation, a retirement stool. And those three legs are the money that we save, it's Social Security, and then some of us have a pension, but most of us don't. So now those legs are cut down to two, but for many of us, Social Security is going to be taxed 85%. 85% of our Social Security is going to be taxed for many of us. And in addition, Social Security is in trouble. So every year, the Board of Trustees write a letter to Congress and say, here's the situation with Social Security. And there's 5 trustees, and it's headed by Janet Yellen, who's the Secretary of the Treasury. And last year's report came out in the springtime of 2023. There'll be a new updated report coming out soon, and unfortunately I suspect it's going to say things have even gotten worse from this report. But I want to point out here that what they say is that OASDI, which stands for Old Age Survivor Disability Insurance, so the cost of that program is projected to exceed total income in 2023, and the dollar of that hypothetical combined trust fund reserves declines until the reserves become completely depleted in 2034. So as I record this, it's 2024. So if you're planning to retire in the next 10 years, the world you and I are going to retire into is very different than the world we live in today. In that report, they go on, they share this graph, and there's a lot of data here, but what I want you to look at is where the zero cost is. So right now there's a surplus in Social Security, and Social Security is paying out more benefits than what they're taking in tax dollars. And what Janet Yellen and her Board of Trustees is warning Congress and all of us is that in 2034, you can see it's highlighted here, in 2034 the reserves are depleted, they're completely gone. So there's no additional cash to continue to pay benefits. Now, that doesn't mean our Social Security continues to go away, but in this report, Janet Yellen says in the years immediately following, they're only going to have enough capital to replace 75 to 80% of the benefits. So let's go back to this table of what the average retiree gets. Unless Congress acts, let's just take 67 years old, which is full retirement age, 1884. Now that's the average. Let's just for easy math say that somebody's making $2,500 a month in Social Security, right? 80% of that's going to bring them down to $2,000. So that's $500 a month that person is going to have to make up. And you know what? We're just not prepared to do that. Let me show you what the average savings is in the United States. Okay, so this is retirement savings. This is a graph from the Wall Street Journal. And you can see that over half of Americans have $0 saved in retirement accounts. And then you go up to $10,000, $10,000 or less, $1 to 10,000, it's 9%. But what I want to do is for folks, 99 for folks that have less than $100,000, if you add up all those numbers, the 7.4, the 13.1, the 8.9, and the almost 50% that have $0, that's almost 80% of Americans have less than $100,000. How are they going to make up that difference of $500 a month, $6,000? I don't think we can, right? The only way we can is we have to prepare ahead of time. We need to know this now and plan for that. Now, is Congress going to come up with a solution? You know, we've known this problem is coming my entire adult life, and we've kicked the can down the road. We've kicked the can down the road. And now we don't have much time left to kick the can down the road, right? We have to come up with a solution. And your guess is as good as mine as to whether or not our politicians will come up with a solution. There are some solutions. Currently, Social Security, only people that make over $168,600 quit paying into the Social Security program because there's a cap on the salary, and that's what the 2024 cap is. So could they extend that indefinitely? It doesn't matter how much you make. They could, but I don't know if that's really going to solve the problem. So in the Treasury report, in the Board of Trustees of Social Security report, they don't propose solutions. They just propose the facts. And it's up to Congress, it's up to our legislative branch to come up with a solution. Now, I'm not holding out a lot of hope that they're going to come up with a solution. So what I do hold out hope on is you and I. In knowing this information and knowing many of us will not be able to retire if they do cut the program benefits by 20%. Personally, I don't think that's going to happen, but I don't know. And I don't think anybody knows for sure. So what I'm planning on and what I'm sharing with my clients is let's prepare for that. Let's be over prepared. In worst cases, we have a little additional money saved up, and that gives us a cushion, right? So let's look at this. We talked about how much people have saved just in retirement, but people could push back, you could push back and say, hey, Azul, that's just 401ks and IRAs. People also have home equity and other places where they have money, right? The money in their bank might not be in a retirement account. So they could be a millionaire and it's not counted in that Wall Street Journal chart. And that's true. So let's look at what the net worth is. This is from the Survey of Consumer Finance, which is sponsored by the Federal Reserve. This report comes out every 3 years. This report is from data from 2022 that was reported in October of 2023. So it's the most recent data that's available, and it's going to be almost 3 years until we get more recent data. This shows what the median household is. So not just for one person, but for a household. If there's two people in a house, then it would be the net worth of those two people in that one house. If there's only one adult in the house, it'd be the net worth of that one adult. As a reminder, your net worth is the value of all your assets minus the value of your liability. So if your house is worth $500,000 and you owe $300,000 on it, and that's your only asset and liability, your only debt, then your net worth is $200,000. Hopefully that makes sense. So you can see in this table here, people that are under the age of 35, their median net worth is just under $40,000. 35 to 44, it's a little over $135,000. 45 to 54, it's a little under $250,000. 55 to 64, it's a little under $365,000. 65 to 74, it actually goes up to right about $410,000. And that's what I see with my clients is when they initially retire, their net worth actually continues to climb for a while, and then eventually it starts to taper down, which is what we're seeing here with people that are 75 and older, $335,000. Okay, so what do we do, right? My channel's not about scaring you. My channel's about preparing you and helping you reach your goals. So this chart here, what do we do? I'm going to give you a three-step solution, but the first step is we need to understand the concept of what I call the power curve. Getting your money working harder for you than you are for your money. So let me explain that first, and then I'll give you my 3 steps. So this chart shows if you save $10,000 a year and you get a 7% return on that money. I'm not saying you put it in the bank and get 7%. If you know a bank that's FDIC insured and giving 7%, please let me know. But there is none in today's world. That might change in the future. Hopefully not, because that would be a sign that inflation has really gotten out of control. But let's say you can get 7% in a mix of stocks and bonds, and other investments, a diversified portfolio. I think that's in the realm of reason. You save $10,000, you get 7% return. It's going to take you almost 8 years to save your first $100,000. And 80% of that $100,000, 78%, is money that you put into the account, and 22% is the returns on that money. I call that the returns on your money. I call that your money working hard for you, right? Our goal is to eventually get our money working harder for us than we worked for our money. So that's the first 100,000. But look at this. What about the next 100,000? Instead of taking almost 8 years, it takes just a tad over 5 years. And now you can see that almost half of the money, 49% of that growth from 100 to 200,000, almost half of that came from money we had previously saved. So now we got our money working hard for us. And for the next 100,000, from $200,000 to $300,000, almost a little over 60% of that growth of that next $100,000 came from our money working hard for us. The other 40%, 38%, is the money we put in. You can see that takes a little less than 4 years. And let's just fast forward to, let's say 500,000 to 600,000. So we're adding 100,000 in, 500,000 to 600,000. You see it's going to take a little over 2 years. But look at this. 80%, 79% of that growth comes from our existing base. So that's the power curve. So we need to get to the power curve. Now, the challenge is, so you look at the chart and say, oh, great, it gets easier and easier every year. Again, I want you to understand the reality and the truth. And the reality and the truth is, if you save $10,000 a year at 7%, if you add all of that up, it's going to take you 31 years to get to $1 million. That's a long time. So could we speed it up? What if, just bear with me, what if we could save $20,000 a year at that 7%? It should take half that time, right? So 15, 16 years. Unfortunately, that's not the way the math works. It's actually 23 years. And even if we save $30,000 a year, it's still going to take us 18 years to build the $1 million. So almost 20 years. And that's a long time. So what do we do instead? This is the 3-prong approach. The first is we're saving $10,000 in this example. If you're saving that now, if you're saving more than that, I want you to continue to do it. Continue to save, but unfortunately we need to save even more. But how do we do that, right? In the example I gave above with $30,000, even if we save $30,000 a year, still takes 18 years, but think about that. $30,000 is a lot of money. Most people, most Americans, are fortunate if they can save 20% of their salary. So for $30,000 to be 20% of your take-home pay, you have to have take-home pay of $150,000. That's a big salary, and that probably means your actual salary is closer to $200,000, because after taxes you would have $150,000. So not many of us can do that. So let me come up with a game plan that more of us can do to save that $30,000. Okay, so first we're saving $10,000 now. So the first thing we can do is we can do a side hustle. We can, maybe a hobby business. We can ask ourselves, is there any skill that I have where I could earn an extra $10,000? Maybe it's an online business. Maybe it's working a part-time job where you're making a little less than $10,000 a month. I used to work as a ski instructor when my kids were younger, just a handful of weekends at Deer Valley, really. My family got free season passes, and the ski resort I worked at paid pretty reasonably. Believe it or not, full in, it was like $30 an hour. So that wasn't bad, plus the free season passes, right? That money ended up paying for one of my daughter's first year of college at a pretty expensive college. So, you know, doing these sacrifices when you're younger really pay off in spades in something big like paying for your kid's first year of college. Okay, so side hustle, we're saving $10,000 now, a side hustle for another $10,000. And then I want you to think about what could you do to save $10,000 more? So you're already saving $10,000. Could you save $10,000 more? And really where this comes out is the 50-30-20 rule. Can you cut your living expenses, your take-home pay, after taxes, but before you put any money in a 401k or an IRA? Can you cut that back, your needs, your rent, your utility, gasoline for your car, or if you own a home, your mortgage, any expenses related to your house, utilities, food, gasoline, etc. Those are our needs. Keep that under, target 50% or less. Then can we keep our wants, things like going out to dinner, a nice vacation, just niceties of life, buying some stuff online occasionally. Can we keep that down to less than 30% of our after-tax take-home pay? And if we can do that, what's left is 20%. Now that gets us to $30,000 a year, but we still have the challenge that it's going to take us 18 years. So let me tell you the second secret that I want to share with you, and that is we have to start with a base. We have to get that base up. And there's a guy by the name of Charlie Munger, who was Warren Buffett's business partner building Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett's probably the most famous investor. And in 1994, he was giving a talk to a bunch of business school students. And here's what he told them, the secret to building substantial wealth. The first $100,000 is really hard, I'm paraphrasing, but you got to do it. I don't care what you have to do. If it means walking everywhere and not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon, find a way to get your hands on $100,000. And after that, we can ease off the gas a little bit. Now, Munger said this quote in 1994, and $100,000 is no longer what it was back then. So I think I want to modify the Munger quote into the Azul quote. And I think in today's world, we need $250,000. So we do what we have to do to save that first $250,000. And then we can ease off the gas. And if we can do that, if you start with a base of $250,000, or if you already have it, and you can add that $30,000 a year, it's only going to take 10 years to go from that $250,000 to $1 million. And with that, I think we can make up a lot of ground that if our politicians in Washington, D.C. don't fix this Social Security and we get cut, lose 20, 30% of our benefit. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'd rather prepare for the worst and have extra money. Now we're self-reliant. We've taken care of ourselves. So that's the reason that most Americans will never be able to retire, but that doesn't have to be you. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you. Another video that I think would be super helpful for you, kind of related, is what is the average income for retirees in America?